Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unwokeable Podcast. I am your host, Mark Owsley, and I am here to talk to you about. I just left the Megan Fox podcast where we were talking to Senator Nathan Dahm, and he came on her podcast, and we got to ask him some questions. I want to be very clear about what this is. I broke this story a week and a half ago. You need to call your representatives. You need to call them today. This ARPA funding must be cut. It must absolutely be cut top to bottom in this state. And I want to make that very clear because I think there's going to be an undergirding or an under the radar session where they're going to try to say that they're doing something when they're not. So we're going to be watching the bills coming out Wednesday and Thursday, okay? About what they are going to do to defund this, because I have to tell you, and I'm going to go through this. It's not just the child issue. That is the main point. Okay, so they're doing $90 million to fund child surgeries in this state for transgender surgeries and what they call crisis centers, mastectomies, hysterectomies, hormone therapies, puberty blockers. And you can look right here, just like I broke last week, right here. It says, to help surgeons perform gender-affirming surgeries. And they're coordinating with schools to do this. They are coordinating with schools to do this. We cannot allow this, but this is not the only part of it. The Oklahoma State Department of Health should not be getting a dime to modernize anything with this happening. But half of this funding is going to modernize data collection. Data collection, ladies and gentlemen. When they say data collection, when they say OU medical records, they're using that information to fund this ARPA machine. They're using this information to fund ARPA. To get the money from the federal government, they are using this data collection to get that money. So when your students get surveys in school, that's what they're getting. They're getting the data from the schools, from your kids, some of you who may not even know that they're taking it, or just sign it without realizing it. And they're using that community data to get this federal money that they're going to vote in on Wednesday and Thursday. We cannot allow this to happen. And I appreciate Nathan Dahm coming on Megan's podcast, but I'm going to tell you something right now. He's been loud about it, but there have been lots and lots of politicians who've gone silent. We called the governor's office. We called Greg Courtney. We called Greg Treat. We've called lots of different people on that podcast, and they refused to answer the phone. They wouldn't even transfer us to the press people at the governor's office. So when I broke this story and I told these politicians that I was serious about bringing in people that would make sure this would not die, we are looking at you. We are going to be watching every single thing you do, legislators in Oklahoma, and we're going to be making sure everyone knows what you do in this situation. But we are taking the poison pill here with this ARPA funding. This is straight from Joe Biden's CDC. They prolongated, I don't know if I can say that. Let's say this. COVID, the situations that happened with that lasted a long time, right? Well, we needed to make sure that, we could fund everybody that may have lost money during that time. So that gives the government a great excuse to infuse $1.8 billion into the state of Oklahoma. Okay? $1.8 billion into the state of Oklahoma for a laundry list of things. Not just the transgender thing is just the icing on this cake. The mental health apparatus in this state needs to be dismantled. It will be the mechanism. The Department of Health and Substance Abuse are setting up, there are more clinics in this state for mental health and substance abuse than there are in the state of California. Compare the populations. Compare the populations, ladies and gentlemen. From California to Oklahoma, there are more of them in the state of Oklahoma than there are in California. You got to ask yourself why. They are backdooring this issue using federal funds, and it absolutely must be stopped. It absolutely must be stopped. And I don't care whose pet project suffers for it, because I'm done letting them mortgage the minds of our children using DEI, CRT, and all of this cult ideology, and the bodies of our children and our students through gender ideology and through queer theory. I'm done allowing this to happen. I've tried to work with the politicians. I've tried, but I warned you. I warned you, and you thought I was bluffing, and I wasn't. And Megan is just the first step in a week-long campaign to make sure that this does not happen. And if it does, I'm going to hold every single Republican representative responsible. I'm going to make sure who knows why this happened. There are great representatives that we have representing us. Okay? There are great representatives. But they're being held back by a leadership group that's more interested in trying to fix the problem with another corporate solution with schools instead of actually attacking the problem where it lies. And right now, I'm telling you where it lies at the University of Oklahoma. This is the OU Health Complex. It was unified by the OU Board of Regents in 2021. Your state tax dollars are going to fund this. This absolutely cannot stand. And do not let them piecemeal a situation. I'm going to tell you how they're going to do it. Look at this. So, the first line here, which is the big headline grabbing story, okay? The headline grabbing story is the University of Oklahoma. You can find this on my Substack, on mobile.substack.com, okay? Look, the University of Oklahoma Children's Hospital, millions to expand emergency room capacity, right? Okay, great. That sounds awesome. But to build long-term inpatient bed capacity for children in a mental health crisis. Look at this. Now, right here, as a participant in the Roy G. Bibb program, you benefit from gender-affirming scope treatment that includes discussion for parents and about gender, pausing gender, and at the bottom here, which you can't see, in the next part, it says therapy, right? Going back here, long-term inpatient bed capacity for children in mental health crisis. They're going to spend $47 million. And I know children need help, okay? But the population in Oklahoma has not expanded that greatly, okay? Crisis means change, ladies and gentlemen. They are planning on monetizing the bodies of your children. And this is the seed money to do it. And this is coming directly from the OU Board of Regents, your president, Joe Haraz, who absolutely needs to be fired. He needs to be fired. And I've been telling this to everyone who had listened to me, including Governor Stitt, back in October of 2020, that as long as he is there pushing out his plan to create a place of belonging, which is just code for an ideology that uses inclusion to exclude people who do not agree with this political agenda. If you don't deal with your university, you will not, this will not end. This will not end. And I was just on with Senator Dahm, and I'm going to ask him to come on my show too, and some others, okay? And I hope he takes me up on it. But I asked him, what can the legislature do about the University of Oklahoma? There's a constitutional mechanism that creates the higher ed, the regents for higher ed. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing in the Constitution that prevents the legislature from defunding large portions of the university if they don't stop doing this. The only thing they lack is the intestinal fortitude to do it. Because I'm telling you, there is money connections here, ladies and gentlemen. There are money connections. And under no circumstances will I allow this to happen anymore. You thought I was bluffing. There is more to come this week from larger sources. And even if you were to take me out tomorrow, they're still going to happen. They're still going to happen. I am done playing around, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to be done playing around. You need to be calling the governor. You need to be calling your legislators. You need to make sure, and you ask them, are you voting to fund this ARPA funding? Because it's not just the hospitals, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just the hospitals. This is a whole apparatus that goes into mental health. Governor Stitt's Department of Health and Human Services is pushing its own SEL. They're weaponizing this stuff. They're making money off of it. And this electronic health records is going to go straight to the federal government. Straight to the federal government. And let me tell you this. You remember when I told you that they don't need your guns if they have your children? Do you remember that? Yeah. They're going to use these mental health surveys to take your guns from your children. They will. You want to know how? Didn't the federal government just pass a red flag law? Do you remember that? When all the retiring and not endangered 10 or 15 senators came out and said, we'll join the Democrats to do this red flag law. Your kids are going to be taking these surveys, and all this data is going to go to the federal government. And they ask questions about guns. Yeah, they do. And if your child, bubbled the wrong bubble because they were having a bad day too many times, when they get to be 18 and 20, the government will red flag them. Watch. And the names are connected. The names are connected. Bull, you know what? Either you do something about your university system, because this is where it's starting. The mental health law that was passed in 2021. Now, there are many good representatives, okay, that did not know what this was when they voted for it last time. But guess what? They know what it is now. This mental health law must be repealed immediately. Immediately. Do not vote for anyone who says they won't do it. Anyone. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It is my sincere belief, and this is my own prognostication. I'm pretty good with numbers. I'm pretty good with polls. I'm also pretty good with history. I do not believe that Governor Stitt is in any danger in this election. What might put him in danger is this issue. If he signs this bill, if this goes through. But in 2018, there's some history here. In 2018, at this time of the year, they had him way behind, ladies and gentlemen. They had him way behind. He won by like 20 points. All of the polls across the country right now, for the past 3 weeks, have been putting Republicans behind. And then just recently they flipped. You know why? Because they started polling likely voters. They started polling likely voters where they weren't polling likely voters before. So do not be afraid. Well, if we don't gather around Governor Stitt, we don't gather around all these. There are some close races. Okay? There are some close races. Norman, close races. Okay? Vote for the Republicans. I have nothing. Most of those people aren't even incumbents, so they don't have anything to do with this. Right? But anybody that was in office, anybody that is not running, anybody like Governor Stitt, who has known about this situation and appointed OU Board of Regents, they need to be held accountable. And I'm not saying don't vote for them. I'm saying call them right now and threaten that you're not to, that you're not going to. And guess what? If they do this anyway, you need to make a choice. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't do something about this, you have enemies on both sides. If they don't do something about this, you have enemies on both sides of this issue. All of this funding right here for information technology modernization needs to be gone. There's no reason. The federal government should not be subsidizing state medicine like this. This is what you call a public-private partnership. This needs to be done. I am done with Republicans who talk all the talk they want to, who'll come out, oh, I'm anti-abortion. Great. But guess what? This medical complex is making money off live children now. Just think about this for a second. It's much harder to make money. It's much, much harder to make money off of the less children you have when you're making money off of doing things to them after they're born. Right? Well, we get rid of abortion, then we have more children that we can infect with this mind virus. And then we get to make money off of them later on. And this money, this ARPA money right here, is the seed money to build the foundations of doing this for the next 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm hot, but I'm pissed. You should be pissed that this went in under the radar. If I wouldn't have brought this out, you would have never known. Think about that. Little old me, podcast, broke as a joke, unwokeable, okay? If I wouldn't have put in the time to go look for this, you wouldn't know about it. But guess what? Your government agencies know about this. Your governor knows about this. I know, because I told him. I'm done. You need to be done. It's time to get loud. It's time to get unafraid. It's time to be courageous. It's time to make courage as a habit. It's trying to make courage a habit. It's what it is. You have to stop this. Under no circumstances can we allow this to continue. And if you do, it's on you. Because you're mortgaging your children's future. You're mortgaging your grandchildren's future. People my age. Stop going to OU football games. Every single red cent you spend at that university, this one, every single red cent you spend at that university goes to push this agenda. Trust me, I've gotten degrees there. I have one that close to being finished, and I can't stomach going out there and doing what would be very easy for me at this point to finish. I would be Dr. Unwokeable right now. But I cannot stand the thought of taking any more money and putting it into that institution. Because they're weaponizing the minds and bodies. They're mortgaging them. And if you're not upset about that, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I had put some of the pictures of what they do to kids in this story, and I took it out. But I'm not going to anymore. I'm going to show you what they do to these kids. You have to look at it. They use your propriety against you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God, don't show us the fact that they skin kids' arms to make a Frankenstein penis. Little girls. I have a report coming from OU Children's that said as young as 10, they've done these kinds of surgeries. Well, they'll take and give them chemicals where they'll take and mastectomies and hysterectomies before they ever reach puberty. A child cannot consent to this. A child cannot consent to this. And if you make an argument to me that you think they can, you are my enemy. Because there's no excuse that can be made for this. Absolutely no excuse. And I am done. And I'm going on a campaign that will last until this is out of this state. And then once we get it out of this state, until we get it out of our country, because this is not about tolerance. This is about brutality. They say that you are a bigot and you're committing violence against somebody if you don't allow a child or or allow doctors to mutilate people in this way. You are one step, one tiny bone from taking off someone's arm in the name of inclusion. One step, one tiny bone. Would you take your kid in if they're like, I see myself as a one-armed person today? Would you take your kid in and have their arm removed? Should a doctor be allowed to do that? Do no harm. You need to look up your OU Board of Regents. I'm going to start posting them. You need to call them. They have the power right now to defund this. They have the power right now to defund this. There are 9 of them. They were all appointed by your governor. They have the power right now to undo this. They had the power back in March when they told me they were going to talk about defunding DEI, and instead they decided to do this. They decided to strengthen and give more money to the OU health system, the unified public-private partnership OU health system, for cutting-edge procedures. These people can't, they can't even get the right, they use the terminology out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, because they're cutting edge. They call it CHOP. They call it no limits. They call it, do you want people walking around with no limits with your kids? Do you want counselors in your schools telling kids that in order to fix their depression, ladies and gentlemen, that they just have to, affirm their true selves? Thank you, SJF. I really appreciate it. Yeah, hey guys, I'm doing this for free. I've got my super chats open. I've got a super thanks open. You can become a member of my channel. You can go and subscribe to my Substack. I'm starting an organization called Parents Defending Daughters. Excuse me, Fathers Defending Daughters. And we're going to create an army of billboard Chris's in Oklahoma specifically. And we are going to go out and we are going to stop this, because this will not end after November. This won't end if you pass a school choice bill. There is too much money here. It's going to go quiet. And I am committed to not letting it go quiet. I have been muzzled for too long. I've trusted too many politicians. This must end. We must win. None of this is about protecting people from suicide. In a study I pulled that you're going to see in a new article, in a study, 30-year-long study, the longest ever, showed that people who transition are 40% more likely to take their own lives. Here's some Board of Regents emails. Send them. Former Governor Frank Keating, Miss Shirley, go find them. Go find them and tell them this must end. They are the only people that have the direct power to do that. We need to fire Joseph Haraz at the University of Oklahoma. Fire him. Right here, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Stevenson, Ms. Holloway, Mr. Nagel, Mr. Ross. They funded this. And you know what? They're going to present themselves with plausible deniability. Well, I wasn't here when we did that. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they are connected to organizations who are profiting off of this. Because it is all connected to the ESG economy that Governor Stitt is helping to build. Go look at the Blaze. There's an interesting article. Should I pull that up? Let's pull that up. Governor Stitt, the Blaze. Because this is all connected to an ESG economy. And Governor Stitt is full bore into it. He just talks about the environmental end of it, right? He just talks about the environmental end of it. But let me tell you something, friends. It's all connected. You can't have the E without the S. And the S is inclusivity, right? It's DEI and inclusive medicine. Inclusive medicine means hijacking the minds of your children. Hijacking the minds of your children and the bodies of your children. That's what it means. Just one second. Let me pull this up because you need to look at this. And I don't want to hear crap about, oh, he's 4 points behind. Bull. I don't believe it. If I'm wrong, okay, great. All right. But I'll tell you this. If this is his agenda, he deserves to lose. And at least we know who we're going for. October of 2020, I met with this man and told him what was going on at OU. October of 2020, I met with this man. And he puts Board of Regents in that time that he knew were profiting off of this. I'm done. I'm done making excuses. Oh, well, he's ignorant. No, he's not ignorant. And here, let me show you. So, look. Oklahoma Governor Stitt touts Agenda 2030 green energy as where investments are headed. Guess what? Green energy is a part of the ESG thing. That's number one, right? That's the E. The S, that's social justice. That's CRT DEI. Ask Bob Ross about CRT DEI and what his groups do to fund that. He's a Board of Regent. He's a member. One of Governor Stitt's most recent appointees. I'm done. When I found out this was happening in Oklahoma, all bets were off. I should have done it a long time ago, but y'all thought I was bluffing. There is more to come. There is more to come, but look at this. This is the E, an ESG. If Democrats are akin to a vociferous wolves seeking to turn American sheep into carcasses, says Horowitz, the Republicans are vultures seeking to cash in by feasting on that carcass rather than calling in the lions to battle the wolves to protect the American sheep. That is an amazing line by Horowitz from The Blaze. Nowhere is this more evident than the Oklahoma Governor Stitt signing on to the Green Energy Agenda 2030, which is a WEF agenda. It's rooted in equity. If you wonder why I have a problem, I'm not even going to go there right now. Let's keep it here, okay? But anything that he's pushing. Plan to replace electric cars Governor Stitt signing onto the Green Energy Agenda 2030 plan to replace cars with electric vehicles in supposedly conservative Oklahoma. Except, unlike most other Republicans, he should get points for honesty, providing us with the full understanding of why Republicans will never fight for us on an issue that matters. The reason? The money, the investments, are always on the side of tyranny. If you think the gender agenda, if you think the radical queer theory agenda is any different, this is big money. Look at Matt Walsh and what he put at Vanderbilt. This is big money. I would say probably even more money over time than the green energy thing, because I'm going to tell you right now that is going to fail. It will fail practically. But guess what never fails? Human capital. That's what they call it. They literally call it human capital. The last time we used language like that, ladies and gentlemen, guess when it was? Slavery. Human capital. Because your kids will never, they'll monetize them. Let that money follow that child. Put a price tag on their head. Oh, and then attach an agenda that will mutilate their bodies and require them to be dependent upon the medical apparatus for the rest of their natural lives. That's what the gender agenda does. Of course, they don't want abortions anymore. I'm not a pro-abortion. I'm pro-choice. But the more kids you have, the more money you can make off of mutilating them. You get me? Moving forward with this excellent article from Horowitz in The Blaze. It should now be abundantly obvious to take any thinking person, It should now be abundantly obvious to any thinking person that the weather tyranny and the green energy agenda are just cute or even annoying. They will quite literally kill millions of people with starvation and lack of access to vital goods and services. They are coming for our food and fuel the same way they came for, and I'm not going to say that because I'll probably get pulled down, which is interesting. I can't even say it. Thus, any promotion of green energy with this officious regime of government mandates and subsidies will necessarily ease the death of energy that actually works. So, we're all on the same page as conservatives that green energy must be shunned, right? We're there, right? That's what he asked. Wrong. Jennifer Granholm, Biden's energy secretary, recently said that California is in the lead on energy and can show the rest of the nation how it is done. She could have said the same thing about Oklahoma. She could have. During a confab with the Western Governors Association in Oklahoma City, Governor Stitt bragged about installing carbon neutral green energy into the Oklahoma electricity grid and how the number of charging stations spread out along the highways can serve thousands of electric vehicles, and a plan to create new hydrogen energy hub will help the nation move away from fossil fuels. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. You cannot make this stuff up. You should be incensed because you've been lied to. You've been lied to. And they have prolonged this problem. Because you can't make money if there's no problem. You can't make money. I'm done. I know I keep saying that. But you should be too. Call your Board of Regents. Send them emails. Send them faxes. Megan's pointing them toward the legislature. Great. Can't do nothing about your OU health system. The direct line to them is the Board of Regents. Fire Joseph Haraz. Fire Joseph Haraz. Fire Joseph Haraz. moving forward. At a time where we are confronted with the intractable fight for our way of life and need for opposing party to break the paradigm of federal government working with ESG sustainable growth and the Agenda 2030, governors like Stitt believe the old adage, if you can't beat them, join them. Yet the only reason we can't beat them is because Governor Stitt and the other GOP governors have already decided to join the bad guys. The Oklahoman explains Stitt's feelings based upon their interview as follows. For Stitt, the growing electric car market is one he wants Oklahoma to tap into. The investments are heading to electric vehicles manufacturing, battery manufacturing technology, alternative energy, Stitt said. Stitt has pushed for the state to spend billions of dollars in tax incentives for the electric vehicle industry, including nearly $700 million. The governor got lawmakers to approve this year in hopes that Panasonic would bring an electric vehicle factory battery plant to his state. In other words, the very corporate welfare that has allowed government to artificially promote expensive and ineffective energy policy that now leave us with the crisis of our way of life is fully embraced in Oklahoma, just like in California. And if you don't think this doesn't have anything to do with the trans surgeries that I exposed last week coming from the Roy G. Biv program at Oklahoma Children's Hospital, OU Health, you are sorely mistaken. This has been in the works for years, at least since 2017. At least. You got to go read the rest of this article because I just need you to understand something, Oklahoma. You have been played. And it's time to make them do the right thing. The only thing that they can do, that you can do, is shame them. And I am ready to shame them. I am ready to shame them. You need to be too. Call them. Call them. Write them. Tag them on Facebook. They hate that. Tag them on Twitter. No more. We must win. No more monetizing our children. No more. I will not allow it. I don't care if I'm done. And you should be too. But I want to show you this. I'm going to read you through this because you have to understand what's going on here. This $90 million. This is $90 million. This isn't an accident. This isn't an accident, ladies and gentlemen. This has been in the works for a long time, and they tried to keep it from you. And I busted it out for you so you could see it. And they're going to do a late Wednesday night, Thursday night. Oh, well, we took out this money, but they're going to funnel it to other portions because most of this, ladies and gentlemen, is medical. Most of this funding is medical. And it's all under one system. So if you attack one part of it, they give it to them, right? They give it to them, and then they'll just reapportion it after the fact. I got to pull this up. I got to pull this up. And you got to share this video. Whatever platform we're on, share the video. Because you cannot, with everyone in Oklahoma. Because I'm going to take you through this. Look. Okay. So this is the laundry list of things that they're giving things to, okay? They say this is about economic development. Bull. Look, this is the one thing, $60 million, that's explicitly economic development. Right here. Look at healthcare. And make note, look at this. From here to here is all healthcare. They put a little tab here, but look, State Department of Health, medical records. This is all healthcare too. Except for this one little bitty $6.2 million. Griffin Memorial Hospital, Tulsa Center for Behavioral Health, 106 beds in Tulsa. I'm telling you, this isn't just about mental health. This is about creating a problem with gender ideology and putting people there. I'm telling you. First responder behavioral health, to create a facility that both the National Guard members and the first responders can use for mental health services. DPS wellness mobile units. $2.5 million to create new 2 mobile wellness units. Mobile wellness units, they're going to come get you. Thunderbird Challenge Academy. Not sure what that is. Youth Services Alliance. This is all healthcare. $30 million for capital needs at various sites, from improving facility shortfalls to expanding facility needs. Youth Service Alliance. Almost all of this is pointed at kids. Almost all of this is pointed at kids. Oh, okay, court appointed special advocates, CASA, to pay for advocates to get between you and your children. If you don't affirm their gender, watch. First step male diversion. This is under healthcare. University of Oklahoma Children's Hospital, $46.9 million to expand emergency room capacity and build long-term patient bed capacity for children in mental health crisis. Mental health crisis. More beds. They're going to blame the virus, but really what it is, you need long-term health facility because they're going to take your kids into gender-affirming therapy, basically woke conversion therapy, right? And then they're going to medically transition them, and you got to have beds. Got to have places for those kids to recover. When you take the skin off of their arm and you put it just under their belly button as a penis, that never works. When you give them chemicals that will castrate them for the entirety of their life, if any, I'm telling you, this whole bill needs to be scuttled. The whole thing. I don't care what good is on here. There's too much bad. There's too much bad to comb through. Do some research on your own. I'm only one man. That's why I've enlisted friends like Megan Fox. And more to come. Matt Walsh is digging, ain't he? Moving forward. Hospital telemedicine, $10 million for joint program between the Oklahoma State University Medical Authority and Trust and the Oklahoma State Department of Health to provide telemedicine access to rural areas. Okay. That's only $10 million of this, though. Hearts for Hearing. Okay. $10 million to expand their Oklahoma. Okay. Hearing, good. That's good. Osu Nutrition Institute, $50 million for a facility to research nutrition and exercise impact on health outcomes. Nutrition, interesting. Okay, but at least you can make a case. The first 3/4 of the list, man, it's almost transparent how backwards this stuff is. OSU Pharmaceutical, $50 million for facility to help continue to provide research into opioids, to how to minimize risk, prevent overdoses, and other ways to manage pain. Opioid crisis. You remember that? Stevenson Cancer Center, $20 million in seed money to create a Stevenson Cancer Center in Tulsa in partnership with a local hospital. Okay. Great. That sounds good. But a majority of that list, guess what? But we're still not done with the medical end. This says information technology. It's not. Oklahoma State Department of Health, medical records, $26 million to modernize IT capabilities at the Oklahoma State Department of Health to provide electronic health records that can be shared willy-nilly all over the place. That would improve communication with clients, staff, and external providers, and will help share data with the CDC to get more ARPA money. That's community reporting. Look at the grants. Look at them. Look at the grants. Done. Look at them. They're using this data to get the ARPA money. And so they need more data to get more ARPA money. This is Biden. OU medical records, $44 million. So another $44 million to OU Health. This is where I get my 90 million number. Because they're going to use the data, because the medical records, again, it's all one OU Health system. It's all one system now. Thanks, OU Board of Regents, June 2021. OU medical records, $44 million for the University Hospital Authority. Same thing. These are all the same entity now. OU Health, OUH, the University of Oklahoma Sciences Center, OUHSC. These are all the same thing now. To implement a new electronic record system and modernize the technology infrastructure. Oh, OUH, because that's the unified. OU Health, it's all unified now. All those things. They wrote this to be deceiving. They wrote this to be deceiving. In order to provide Oklahomans with cutting-edge therapies they cannot currently receive. Cutting-edge therapies they cannot currently receive. Yep. I'm sure there'll be good ones in there. But they are creating a massive problem so they can fix it later and make more money off you. Because you are human capital, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they call you. That's what they call you. You are human capital. Administrative Office of the Court, $6.2 million to provide e-filing, video conferencing, language access, and case tracking capabilities to administrative offices of the courts. Don't think that isn't connected. Because as we just saw in Texas, the father who was fighting the transition of his son in Texas, just got his rights taken away from him. Economic development, ARPA allowable revolving fund. It's a revolving fund, so I can go to anything. $60 million to create a source of funding that industrial sites identified by the Department of Commerce can use to improve their water, wastewater, and broadband needs. They can access this funding if they receive PREP funds. Call your legislators. This must not pass. Top to bottom, must not pass. And then we need to be very involved in pulling the few things that are good out of this. Water Resources Board. Okay, good. Oklahoma Water Resources Board. $100 million for a grant program focused on 3 areas: small town rural water districts. Okay. Medium large town rural water districts and high need dams. Okay. This seems like something that you might use this for. But again, this is all coming from COVID relief funds. Statewide water projects. See, the amount of money going into this just makes me nervous. Tribal match. I don't have the bill number. Look, this is guys. This is on the Oklahoma State Legislature website. Okay, it's an omnibus spending bill. I can put it in the chat here. I'll put it in the chat. I have it written down somewhere, but I'd have to change screens. Here's this. But it's an omnibus spending bill. And there are other bills coming up around it. So they made it. I don't even know if they have a bill number yet. But look, tribal match. $57 million towards a tribal match for projects identified in collaborations with the tribes, Secretary of Energy, and OWRB. Tribal match. I thought they weren't a part of our state anymore. Can anybody straighten me out on that? I know they recently completely, I guess, flipped their whole stance on it in court, which is very interesting on that timing. They were a nice foil for a while. They were good. They were good foil for a little bit. I guess they ran out of their usefulness. I don't care about those people. Oklahoma City Tinker Air Force Base, $35 million to move a major water line from under. Okay. Burns Flat Spaceport. But this is not near the money that's going to the other stuff in this thing. Even with the combined $230 million at the top. Is a bare minimum of the $1.8 billion. Burns Flat Spaceport, $4.25 million for water and broadband needs. Okay. Oklahoma City, $8 million for water infrastructure. Port of Enola water projects. Ardmore Airport. Okay. All that seems innocuous. Broadband office. So there's broadband funding in all of these lists so far, by the way. But we have a separate broadband tab. Broadband office projects, $382.1 million to add to the capital funds amount to grant funds for our bailout of broadband infrastructure. More internet, more records, less privacy, more money. Just saying. Broadband office administration of the $500,000. Broadband mapping, $2 million to finish out the map that the Department of Commerce has been building over the last several years. I'm going to look that up, what broadband mapping is. Career tech broadband, $5 million for career tech to add classes to train a broadband workforce. I guess. Okay. OSU IT training program for more broadband. Workforce development. Innovation District, $8.4 million to help innovate district buy equipment and curriculum to train pharmaceutical and bio life science workforce for the growing industry in the area. I'm going to read that again. I'm going to read this again. This is under workforce development, but again, it is medical. I'm going to do some math here. Innovation District, $8.4 million to help Innovation District buy equipment and curriculum to train pharmaceutical and bio-life science workforce for the growing industry in that area. Pharmaceutical, puberty blockers, pharmaceutical, hormone treatments, bio-life science, surgeries, bio-life science, recovery. Lawton Fires Innovation Science and Technology Accelerator, $20 million to develop. Lawton Fires Innovation Science and Technology Accelerator, $20 million to develop a state-of-the-art, high-tech, nationally recognized advanced technology center in the direct support of the U.S. Army Futures Command cross-functional teams in the Joint Counter UAS University. I'm honestly a little, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a little scared to even say anything about that. For my actual physical safety. Just look at what your Board of Regents do, how many of them are involved, and things like that. Central Oklahoma Manufacturers Association, COMA. Gosh, horrible names. $8.1 million to create the Manufacturing Skills Academy. Okay. Fab Lab, FAB Lab, $250 to help increase new equipment for their new facility that will allow businesses to come in and build prototypes to train workforce that will work with these manufacturers. I need to look that up. Oklahoma Education Academy, $20 million for part-time funding makeup to create the new Oklahoma Aviation Academy. Atomic Knight. No, I don't know who Sean Cummings is. I feel like I've heard that name. The Aviation Academy and the Lawton Fires Innovation Science and Technology Accelerator are all connected by OU. Tulsa University, Cyber Innovation Institute, $12 million to expand TU's Cyber Innovation Institute with increased class offerings. Cyber innovation. What does that mean? Healthcare Workforce Training Commission, $250,000 to help the agency with oversight of projects. So that's another medical thing. Career Tech, $9.7 million for increasing the capacity of nursing students. Another medical thing. Colleges and universities, $50 million for increasing the capacity of nursing students. Another medical thing directly to the colleges. It's $140 million at least to universities, the OU Health Complex. Statewide Workforce Initiative, $5 million to set a statewide funds dedicated to solving the workforce coordination issue in the state. Career Tech Tracking, $6.2 million to expand Career Tech's offering of CDC classes, CDL classes across the state. Okay. Nonprofits, a rural development, regional EMS, another medical. $6 million to create 9 regional response centers that will work with the Office of Emergency Management to ensure emergency preparedness, another medical. I wonder how many of them will be owned by the OU Health System or the OSU Health System. National Guard Joint Operations Center, okay. Oklahoma Education Television Authority, OETA, $8.2 million to replace transmitters and translators across OETA's system that is used to broadcast public television and alerts. The Oklahoma Arts Council, the Center of Nonprofit Support. The YMCA, $25 million. Potts Family Foundation, $9 million to create a grant program that will help programs that are serving young Oklahomans who have suffered setbacks during the pandemic. Okay. Boys and Girls Clubs, 30.1 million to build mobile RVs that will have specialized programs for areas where the Boys and Girls Club do not have physical presence, and for capital needs at their 96 locations. Wow, 96 locations in Oklahoma. Dental Foundation, 5.2 million for 5 mobile units. Okay. Another medical thing. Food on the Move, 3 million towards 11 million in needs for the first food hub, which will bring small local farmers and independent sellers together to buy and sell products. Okay. Oklahoma Primary Care Association. It's another medical thing. 50 million of their 82 million requests focused on capital needs in their various locations. Oasis Fresh Market, 30 million to help Oasis expand its footprint across the state. YMCA, 2.8 million to help build one. So it's another YMCA, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments for house youth aging out of foster care. Okay. Parent and Children's Center of Tulsa, 700,000 for intervention programs to prevent child abuse at high-risk communities and better integrate fathers who have lived separately from their children. Okay. I don't know why we need government helping that, but okay. It's at least a noble effort, but you always got to look behind the noble effort. A lot of it seems noble. A lot of it seems noble, and it's not. I'll look into Sean Cummings. I don't know who he is, but I'll look into him. And if he needs to be dispatched, we will do that. Not obviously. I mean, on the internet, if we need to talk about him, we will. But otherwise, I'm not going to give people who are beneath me a platform. Honestly, that's some of it, because there's much more important things to talk about. I would love to hear Ryan Walters' thoughts on this ARPA funding. He's talked about some of the money that's already been allocated to counselors, but that was done in 2021. We need to look at the counselors. Anybody ASCA related, gone, needs to be gone. And then we got into the healthcare again. So it's a $25 million for a grant program to help replace lost revenue due to COVID-19. Okay. Guys, this is socialized medicine. Any Republican who votes for this should be ashamed of themselves, and you should make them be ashamed of themselves. You should make them be ashamed of themselves. Any Democrat for that matter too. But they should already be ashamed of themselves. I feel like this week might be the end. If something isn't done about a majority of this funding, I feel like I just get a feeling that the Oklahoma Senate page calls this transformational. James Lindsay's told us what that means. When Barack Obama said in 2008 that he was going to fundamentally transform the United States of America, what did he say he was going to do it with? What was the first thing he did? What is it? Obamacare. It was medicine. Your Republicans in this state have socialized your medical system. And they did it, basically, the huge portion of it, with this money and with 9 votes from people you don't know on the OU Board of Regents. Nobody gets off on this. Nobody gets a free pass. For those who maybe have done wrong votes in the past, I've got a message for you. You need to get out and get loud about this right now. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I like you. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if we work together. If you don't get out and get loud about this right now, you have let down your constituents. You have let down the people who put you in office. I don't care what you may. I don't care if it hurts your pocketbook. I don't care if it hurts a pet cause of yours. I don't care if it hurts your election chances. I don't care. Get out and say something about this. Representatives, senators, Mr. Governor. Grow a pair. Come on, man. I'm telling you, this will have. You think that you're ushering in there? I know there are Republicans who think that the money will solve this all, and this is just another reset. Your children and your grandchildren, even if you think that you have enough money and enough power to keep them out of it, your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren will curse you. They will curse you for what you did to them. The dogmas of this quiet past are not suited to the stormy present. And y'all are trying to use economic solutions in a captured market. We have to stop it, ladies and gentlemen. We have to end this. I'm going to see you later on. Be watching. Don't let them take your children. Don't let them have your children. Don't let them have mine. Because once this goes through, I'm telling you, we weren't supposed to even be thinking about this. Everything is election, election, election right now. This is being done at this point in the calendar for a reason. And I truly believe that it was providence, that I stumbled on it when I did. If you appreciate the work I'm doing, please support me. I have people coming after me. I've lost jobs just recently because of my reporting on this. Things I do for money. So this is it. I'm all in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm all in. I'm trying to help you. Support me if you can. If you can't, pray for me. I'm praying for you. We got to do this. We have to win. We must win. Thank you, guys. I'll see you later.